Hello, and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Dan. You may notice it is just me today. Joey is not here, so I figured I'd take a shot at doing one of these by myself. If you guys have been listening to us, you know that I'm a football fan, specifically a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I thought a good idea, or an idea for the show today could be who I personally think that certain Star Wars characters, which NFL team they would vote for. I'm not doing all the characters yet. I'm going to hopefully make this into a little series and hopefully expand into other sports. But I chose certain characters, certain teams, and this is from a completely biased view as an Eagles fan. Some of these are funny, some of these are geographic regions, but yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. So, might as well start with the Eagles. I think that Chopper from Rebels would be an Eagles fan. My reasoning for this is he's very chaotic. Not always chaotic in a good way, you know. If you've seen the show, you know what I mean. And if you know anything about Eagles fans, I feel like Chopper would fit. Ride or die guy. Next, I'm moving into Emperor Palpatine. He's a Cowboys fan. No explanation to that needed. Just going to move right along. So I'm going to stick with the NFC East just to start. So that brings us to the Washington Commanders. And I think Bail Organa would be a Commanders fan. He's a senator, spends a lot of time in the Capitol, really just an unproblematic person. So I think he'd be a Commanders fan, a proud Commanders fan. And wrapping up the NFC East are the Giants. I think Captain Rex would be a Giants fan. I think he likes the blue, represents the 501st well. Moving on to C-3PO. I think C-3PO would be a Saints fan. He resonates with the color gold. After all, that is him. And he views himself as a saint. So he really, really connects with the Saints on that one. Staying in the NFC South, I think Han Solo would be a Buccaneers fan. Probably likes the weather of Tampa. Can't blame him. And he relates to being a smuggler and a pirate, but he gets really offended if you call him one. So I think he would be a Bucs fan, not a Raiders fan. And we'll get to the Raiders in a bit. And coming up are the Lions. This is the one that I feel the most confident on. I feel like a Luke Skywalker would be a Lions fan. The Lions, just like Luke, are both scrappy, really easy to root for. Again, very unproblematic characters. And generally, everybody likes them. I haven't met a Lions fan that I didn't like. So staying in the NFC, we have Boba Fett, who I think would be a Seattle Seahawks fan. And this is one of those ones where I think it's geographical. I think the Seattle area would remind him of Camino, and he'd always go back to root for the Seahawks. And rounding out the NFC, I have Rey, who would be a Cardinals fan. Cardinals are based in the desert, just like Rey. Desert's all she knows. And I feel like she'd be a big Cardinals fan. Probably had a Larry Fitzgerald jersey growing up. Can't go wrong with that one. So that brings me to the AFC. So I'm going to start with the AFC East, and I'm going to start with the Patriots. I think Finn would be a Patriots fan. Probably would have liked watching Tom Brady growing up. Devastated when he left. Didn't have the heart to follow him to Tampa, but that Tom Brady love never left him. Sticking in the sequels era, I think Poe Dameron would be a Jets fan. He probably always wanted to be a pilot, always thought, resonated with the team that was named after a ship. And again, he loved that the Jets have a plane in their logo. So I think Poe would be a Jets fan. That brings me to Ezra Bridger. I think he would be a Dolphins fan. We know that Ezra has connections with Purgles. We've seen it at the end of Rebels. And Dolphins are the closest thing to Purgles that I've seen in the Star Wars universe. So I think Ezra would be a Dolphins fan purely because of the Purgles. And probably likes the color teal. It's a good color. Rounding out the AFC East is Anakin Skywalker being a fan of the Buffalo Bills. particularly Clone Wars Anakin when he has Ahsoka with him. He loves the chaos of the Bills Mafia. I could see picture him and Ahsoka jumping off tables with Obi-Wan being really disappointed, but them having the time of their lives. And also, the cold weather of Buffalo is the furthest thing from sand, so I think that would draw him to Buffalo. Moving on, I think Cobb Vanth would be a Texans fan. I feel like he's just from Texas. Again, one of those people devastated when the Oilers left. Couldn't quite bring himself to root for Tennessee and was elated when the Texans became a franchise in Houston again. That brings me to my favorite character, Count Dooku. Probably a Chiefs fan. He likes that they win. He likes that the chief is named for something superior. He views himself as superior. And, probably a Patrick Mahomes fan. I can say it. Now, I mentioned earlier that we would get to the Raiders, and I think the loudest, proudest Raiders fan there would be Hondo Ohnaka. He's the self-acclaimed best pirate. He would root for the Raiders. I can see him getting into full makeup. Proud Raiders fan. He's still upset that they moved to Vegas, probably based out of Oakland, but Hondo would be, I think, a fantastic Raiders fan. And wrapping up this short little episode today brings me to the Denver Broncos. And this is one of those where the character I'm going to say is not a slight to the team. I love the Denver Broncos, but I think Mace Windu would be a fan of the Denver Broncos for no reason other than he likes being on his high horse. And he can picture himself riding his high horse. Can see him calling the other fans citizens. But again, nothing against the Broncos. I just see Mace on his high horse. Well, that wraps up this brief little episode today. I just wanted to thank you guys for listening. And give us a follow on Twitter at Blue Shadow Pod or Instagram or YouTube at the Blue Shadow Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.